Hello friends, this is Vicki from Stamp Smiles, and I'm here today to share a much requested tutorial with you on how I made a triangle corner pop-up card. And this is the original one that I had made for Brutus Monroe. I have already sent it to the recipient. Now, I'm not the original creator of this design concept, but I will link to the original person that I received the idea from. Today, I'm sharing how I made this card in particular, still using Brutus Monroe products, but in a much different design, as you can see. So there's many different ways that you can design this with. I am starting off with an 8-inch square piece of cardstock. I'm using the Alabaster Brutus Monroe cardstock. You can use any color that you want to use for your card base. This is basically the card base of the design, and we're just going to put the score marks in it for the folds. So lining it up in my paper trimmer, I'm starting it at the 4-inch mark and making a score mark all the way down on the paper. Now, if you don't feel comfortable using your paper trimmer, you can use a scoring tool or whatever you want to use. We're just going to do some cutting, so this was just easiest for me to grab. Turning it 90 degrees, lining it back up at the 4-inch mark, and this time we're going to make a score mark, but we're going to stop it right where we made that first score line on the card. So you're going to stop it right there. And so as you can see, we got a line going across, and then we got one going halfway up. I'm going to put it back into the paper trimmer at the 4-inch mark again. I'm going to take the cutting blade this time, and I'm going to start it right where all of the score marks meet in the middle and just cut it going all the way down. So you have a cut mark on that line, which it lines up with the score mark right above it. So you got those two panels that are cut. And you have 4 panels that all equal about 4 inches each. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start folding, reinforcing the score marks by folding them and lining them up so that they're all even. When you fold your card, it lines up nicely how you want it. And I'm just going to reinforce those marks with my bone folder. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that it's easier to understand the whole concept when you reinforce all the lines on the folds that you have made. But then once you get going on this and you figure out how they're made, they're really easy to do. This may look a little intimidating at first, but once you see how the base of the design gets put together, this is really easy to do. And what's fun is that you can decorate it however you want in all kinds of different ways, and I think that's the fun part of the whole thing. You can see it's starting to form together now when we fold it. But now we got to take it back to the paper trimmer, and we need to make some more score marks because you have those little triangle ones that fold backwards. So all I'm doing is lining up the track in my paper trimmer where the 2 score marks are, from one score mark to the other, and making a diagonal a diagonal score line. And then I'm going to do it on the other side of the top. So where you cut it is the opposite from where you made the cut line on your square card, if that makes sense. So this is going to be the top of the card. And then from score line to score line, we're going to make another diagonal score mark in the track. And then as you can see, here are all your triangles at the top and then your cuts at the bottom. And now we need to make sure that when you fold the card inward, those triangle flaps are going to fold backwards. So they're going to fold in the opposite direction. So I'm just lining up the triangle corners so that they all meet nicely and it's all uniform and it folds together nicely, reinforcing it with my bone folder. And now you can see how the whole design comes together, and it's all ready to be decorated. And I'll show you later. It doesn't matter which way you want one on top versus the other. I'll show you how I decorated mine, and I'll show you how I closed it and decorated the whole entire thing. So to get started, we're going to need to cut panels. And I am using, for the base of the whole design, I'm using Jurassic cardstock from Brutus Monroe. And I'm also using this gorgeous Rustic floral paper pad from Brutus Monroe. I just love this whole paper pad. It's a 6x6 inch paper pad. There's 8 patterns. There's 3 of each design. And I think they're just gorgeous. So for the panels, you need to count for the diagonal cut, for the extra space where you made the score marks. So the top ones need to be 3 1/4 inch square for the top layer and 3 1/2 inch square for the bottom layer for the Jurassic Park. And the 2 bottom panels that I'm showing you for Jurassic Park need to be 3 3/4. And I only used 1 white corner panel, and that needs to be 3 1/2 inches. What I'm doing here is I'm just cutting all of the top panels, the diagonal top panels, I'm just cutting in half. And a trick to show you on this, on how to cut them, when you line it up corner to corner, sometimes when you start cutting right in the corner, it kind of bunches it up a little bit and it messes up your paper when you do that, and I hate that. So a good tip is to just start your blade somewhere in the middle of the paper and then just go back and forth, and it will make a nice clean line so you don't have to worry about the corners getting mauled up on you like that, because that happened to me so many times. And so now I'm cutting the 2 Rustic floral paper pad. Now you will need 2 panels for the Rustic floral paper, because you can't flip it over on the design to line it up with the triangles. But you do only need 1 of the green panels to cut in half. You won't need 2 of those, because you can flip that over and it's, you know, obviously the same color on both sides. So for all the white panels that I have on my card that I cut, I am going to what I'm doing here is just taking some Distress ink and going around the edges of it. I thought that color kind of went nicely with the Rustic Florals paper pad, and I am just going to use that as part of my decoration. So I'm just kind of attaching all the layers together, the triangle pieces that I cut. You can see they kind of line up, you know, how they need to be on there. And I'm just lining those up after I got them all ready to go. Now the thing about this card is that you can decorate it any way you want. I am using, this is the Brutus Monroe Happy Rose stamp set, and I have used it throughout my card design, as you will see, but I've just stamped it in some gray ink on the white panel that I have went around the edges with some ink, and ink foam blended around the edges of it, and attaching that to my piece of Jurassic cardstock. This is going to be the panel where you can write a message, and once you get all of the panels put together and attached together, you can kind of see how this card is going to start looking and be put together. And this is what's fun about it. Once you have the measurements to make the card base, and the score measurements, it goes together really easy, and it's so fun to decorate. So here I'm putting all the pieces on the base of the card so you can see how it gets put together. That's where I stamp the rose, and that's going to be like my little writing panel. And then I have the green base, but I'm going to do something different with that, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So I'm using this lace stencil from Brutus Monroe, and I'm also using some gorgeous glitter glaze. This is a unicorn horn glitter glaze, and it is awesome. I'm going to take this pixie spray stuff, which is amazing, to spray on the back of my stencil. And I love that it sticks on the cardstock, as you can see, just like that, and I can move it around without having to worry about my stencil moving around or the tape coming off. And I love this stuff. The pixie spray stuff is awesome. So you need to get some of that if you like using stencils. So for this glitter glaze, I am just spreading it over the stencil to cover my whole entire Jurassic panel that I'm going to use on my card. This stuff is very creamy. It goes on really nice. I'm just smoothing it out, you know, like icing on a cake, peanut butter on bread, however analogy you want to use for that. I'm just smoothing it out to make sure I try to get out all the lines I possibly can on it. And I'm just covering it up over the whole entire panel. Put the stuff back in, and you want to make sure you get all of your stuff cleaned up, because that stuff can be hard to clean off. And you can see it's a little bit more opaque here, but once it dries, it's going to be really glittery and gorgeous. So continuing to work on the same area that I just used the glitter glaze on, I'm going to make this easel card with it. I have cut out a white panel with a scalloped circle, and then I've cut some more rustic florals paper with a circle die and another Jurassic panel. For the easel card, I've got a 3 by 6 inch piece of cardstock here, and I'm taking it to my paper trimmer again, and you can't see in the camera, I'm sorry. I'm lining it up at the 3-inch mark, and I'm just scoring it right in the center of it so that I have a little base to fold it on. I'm reinforcing the fold, so I'm making like a 3-inch square card. I'm going to take the circle die and I'm going to line it up, but however you can see at the top, I'm not going to cut that off. That's going to be where the card folds. So I'm just going to use some purple tape, and I'm going to take it to my die cutting machine and cut through both layers. And I'm going to very carefully pull the purple tape off of this. And you can see that I have a circle card that opens up like so. But there's a mark at the top. There's a straight line at the top. So what I'm going to do to make the easel portion is I'm going to take it to my paper trimmer again, unfold it, and I'm just going to kind of guess in the center of where that circle is and make a score mark right there. And then I'm going to fold it over. That Jurassic cardstock is very nice, very thick. It's 100 weight, so it's really nice. So you kind of need score marks and reinforce it with a bone folder. And now I'm just going to put it together, and I'm going to show you that that line at the top where the card folds is going to go away. This is why I cut an extra panel of the Jurassic cardstock to go over top of it. And this is basically the same principle you can use for any type of easel design. You can use any dies that you have to make a really cool easel card with. And then once you line it up, you can see that that line goes away because of the circle panel over top of it. And now I'm just going to glue this whole entire panel onto the scallop circle that I had cut out to go over the design. I'm just lining that up. And here you will be able to see that once you pull on the end of it, that makes your nice little easel card design. So now I'm ready to start assembling my whole entire card. I'm just taking some glue and gluing it down. And the reason why I'm using glue doing this particular step is because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room so I can make sure that I've got all of the triangles and the sections lined up nicely on my design. I can see where it's at and where it needs to go. Now here, this is where I've used both of the Happy Rose stamp set as well as the Take Flight stamp set from Brutus Monroe. I've already got them all colored up. I used both Copic markers and the Style File markers to color them in, and I've fussy cut them out with my Brutus Monroe fussy cutting scissors. Now for that butterfly, I'm going to put it over top of that easel design that I made. I'm just gluing the center of it so that way when it dries, I can pop up the wings a little bit. Now for this part, I put the magnets on and my camera didn't shut off before I could show you. But all I did was glue that little magnet on, and you can see there's a right way and a wrong way to these magnets. So I just took another one of the little ones off. You can see that's the right way. So I took a little one off and I attached it to the back of that one and glued it. and then I pushed it down on the other side of that paper and folded it over. And when I did that, it left the glue mark. So I used that glue mark to then attach that one on that side. And I just glued it, I just used some glue to glue it down with. And now I'm just taking my panels that I previously made. You can see how gorgeous that glitter is. And gluing all the edges down. You can see I've used a clothespin to kind of help me keep the corners of the cardstock down where I put the magnets, because they're popped up a little bit. But those magnets are really strong and they're tiny enough to go on there. So when you do put that circle easel panel on, make sure you put it at an angle, because when you open the card up and pop it up, it's going to go in the corner. It's going to be diagonally in there. Here you can see what the front looks like. I closed it up with a ribbon because I put a lot of layers on this one. And I also decorated the front with another Jurassic cardstock on the front and inked it up with alabaster ink from Brutus Monroe. And I also stamped the You're Amazing from the Super Sentimental stamp set from Brutus Monroe. And there were some hearts in there that I also stamped and punched out with a circle punch for the closure on it. Now I'm just folding it back down, and you can kind of see how this goes basically. And then there's a little area that you can write a message in, and then you just fold it closed, and then you can put your ribbon back on. So I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial on the triangle corner pop-up card, and I hope this has helped you out in some way. There's also a Brutus Monroe blog hop going on right now. So be sure to check that out over on the Brutus Monroe blog so you can see all the inspirational interactive cards that the design team made. Thanks so much for stopping by. Please be sure to like if you like, and leave me a comment and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Bye.